Well, this is a hippie girl I found on the road. I picked her up, and she
Excuse
had
you,
some
I
interest.
was in the back of a dumpster.
Yeah, of a Taco Bell.
I would never be behind the Taco Bell dumpster.
Okay.
It was a medical facilities dumpster, okay?
That's
It
right.
just was right
Yeah.
next to Taco Bell.
Oh, okay, yeah, my bad. My memory is kind of foggy.
Yeah, I'm a bougie homeless person, so
So yeah, this is a continuation of the podcast. Me and Skylar have been talking so much kind of about society and kind of viewing our points on it. I thought I could talk to you because you might have some more input on this, more so with the religion in I guess America today. Where do you see your peer group, like your friends and whatnot, in regards to how they view religion? Are most of them religious, or if not, what do they view it as?
so I definitely have opinions on things, but I just want to preface with that I am not a professional on pretty much anything. So, before we get into that. But to answer your question, I think of all my friends, and I'm including just kind of acquaintances I know, overall, there's a very negative view of religion. I think I have like a couple of religious friends, but the only ones I'm thinking of, it's like the two people I know that literally went to seminary school. So I don't know, like that's they're pretty in they're like in it. They were born in the religion. They grew up in it. There's you. Um One of my friends I was pretty shocked to see at church, and he was shocked to see me, so it just like never came up in the conversation. And there's been sort of times that like a couple people I know are kind of like holding on to their religion because they've been thankful that I've brought something up, or been able to pray with me or kind of like interact with me in this sort of way. But overall, like most people are pretty hostile about it, or at least it seems like they're very embarrassed um, to come forward and to say that they practice it, or they'll say they're more like spiritual or agnostic or something like that.
Right. Okay. Interesting. It's interesting too that they're not apathetic when they don't have religion. It's usually anti. Almost. Do you believe that like this anti kind of religion is in itself a religion?
Oh yeah, yeah. And like I think of all the people I know that are atheist, I'm pretty sure there's only one of them I know that's legitimately an atheist. Like it seems like the rest are so hardcore about it, and they have all these like dogmas and practices and systems, and it's like they've kind of built a religion for themselves, and they have these like idols, and it
Can you
becomes
explain what kind of
something.
idols are there?
I can't remember the people's names, but I've been sent like several different books that I've read from this one guy I know. He's like very, very atheist, and is like religion stupid, and always sends me these books. I want to say Dawkins is one of them.
Okay.
Let me
Yeah.
look this up. I have them. I read the book and I was like, I don't know. I kind of like I've gotten past 13 years old. That was rude. Um, what I mean was like I feel like you kind of go through this phase, which like I'm not saying every atheist person is like this, but I mean like you go through this questioning phase, um, and a lot of that stuff that were in these books, I've kind of already been there, done that. Sam Harris, that's who it was. He sent
Oh,
me a
that
couple of Sam
motherfucker.
Harris
Yeah.
books, and it's like he's so smart, he knows
Dude,
all this
you know what's
stuff,
crazy?
and
It is he claims to not be religion, but he has spiritual practices, which is
that are
baffling.
yeah,
So he has like the ritual, but like not to any god. So he like prays to nothing almost.
yeah, I which is I feel like then you're just taking like I feel like then you kind of have like a misunderstanding of religion in a way,
Mm,
because like I feel like a lot of the people I know that are very anti-religious are like this question I always get all the time. It's always the same question. So I wonder if they're all like reading the same thing. It's like, so you believe a bearded man in the sky controls things? Like that's always the question. I'm like, okay, well it's not a man. He wouldn't have a beard. Why would he live in the sky? Like where are you getting this? Like clearly like your understanding of what religion is just like I don't even know. It sounds like you're describing Santa Claus,
Yeah,
which is
clearly.
different. Um, and sure, let's just have Santa in there as well. Like I don't really see a problem with that, but like it just sounds like they're describing like a completely different thing. Which like I'm not gonna say like I clearly like don't know. I'm not a what is the word theologist. Um,
Theologian.
theologian. I'm not a theologian, but at least like it seems like someone will say like, "Oh, I'm agnostic because I don't believe the Bible, but I believe," and then they'll list off like some of the major aspects of religious life. So I'm like, I don't know. It seems like you might be kind of there. But I think
Hmm.
it's just like not cool anymore as part of it, and it's pretty misunderstood, and I think that's like a big factor. And I think a lot of people like went through very difficult childhoods where faith was kind of used as a form of control on them and is kind of like do this because I said so or do this because you're going to go to hell or and a lot of those people I know like have turned pretty far away from religion just because it was used in such an abusive way. So I think that's like a big aspect of it as well.
Right. Okay. So we safe to assume the supposition being that society today rejects religion, and usually when I say religion in terms of Christianity, I think that would be safe. Would you agree?
I would say pop society. I don't actually have the stats on
Well, I guess like the people in our group, like most of our people. I maybe not society's too broad of a term,
yeah, you're
but
not gonna see a Marvel character praying. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
yeah,
you,
yeah, I have heard that too. That Marvel characters have been like raised to demigod status, kind of like the Greeks, where they had all these gods, and now they're kind of being replaced with Marvel
yeah,
characters.
we're not gonna get a Muslim Marvel character. Sorry, that would be cool, but it's not
So,
gonna happen.
do you think? Because I could see why that would be negative, and for in some instances, even I guess a whole century back, religion was like a thing that was enforced onto someone growing up. And now, I guess people are just kind of railing against that, and it's just a sight of the pendulum swinging back. But it seems pretty bad though, because many, as you say, many of these people reject it, but not really knowing what they're rejecting, and not taking stances into it. So that kind of bothers me that they aren't looking into it more. Yeah.
Yeah, I just looked up these numbers, so these might be a little bit old, but it said like in 2016, Christians represented 73.7% of the total population. So it seems like people
Okay.
are still saying they're religious. It's just, I think it's become very politicized right now, and like being religious, like kind of is like this characteristic that like you're a good guy or you're a bad guy or something. And so like, oh well, if you're, because I saw what is that called, the Da Vinci Code this one time, and the Pope was evil. So like maybe people who are Christian are evil. It just seems like it's very pop culturized and very like politicized. So people have this like, what is it called, not an idol, like a concept of what a religious person is and what religion is that's like so separate from reality that it's become its own theme, like
Right.
archetype or theme.
Like a
Um,
scapegoat almost, and something to
yeah,
attack. Yeah.
And I'll have to look up the numbers exactly as well with Catholicism, but I've brought this up in like a lot of arguments because people will be like, I thought you were progressive. Like, how can you be Catholic? I'm like, yo, well, if you look at the stats, if you literally look at like how people vote, most, if not at least 50% of Catholic people are progressive. You could be conservative or progressive, you could vote whatever within that religion. Your religious ideology has pretty much nothing to do with your political ideology. Like I know Judaism, if you're Jewish, you're like way more likely to be progressive. If you're Protestant, I don't know. If you're Mormon, I don't know. But it's like I think that the idea of what religion is like becomes so confusing to people. So they'll be like they have this like idea of I don't know, like Westboro Baptist Church or something, like from a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, like the picketers outside the abortion clinic, or the really radicalized kind of, not Christians, but the religious types. You go out and kill people because God says them to, like, tells them to,
Yeah,
um
people always bring up the Crusades. Like, what do you think about the Crusades? Like, I, I don't know. Like,
that
what was that? Like, how many thousands of years ago? Like,
good bit. I can't.
yeah, that's just what people did back then. But they used that as like an argument for why people were burning people at the stake. I was like, yo, people were burning people at the stake for nothing. Like that. We don't do that anymore, believe it or not. As far as any church service I've been to, that's not a practice that
That
we do.
is that is interesting though. 73%. That would be more than I think. I guess that's because the mainstream media. I guess the loudest people right now are not the Christian types, and like you said, maybe the Christian people don't like talk about it, or they're kind of afraid.
Yeah, because you can't even make money off it, really. So, I mean, I think it's
We can
hard. I
for
think
some,
you can, but
like some of the Baptists, you get these giant mega
yeah,
churches.
or the Moonies. Yeah, like I think you can make money, but not as much money as you can make by forming it into a concept that you can then antagonize. Which I
Yeah,
think is
yeah,
is not just religion that has that issue, but pretty much any like large anything that people know about. Like they have an idea that's separate from the actual thing. I don't know the philosophy terms. There's probably a philosophy person that's like cringing every time they hear me try to explain anything. But I think it's like your like shadow or something of what you really are, and then there's like the core what
oh,
something
you're
really
talking
is.
about like
You know what I'm talking about?
yeah, the forms and all that, like the
Yeah, the
true form.
forms. Yeah, and
Yeah,
so we are like religions become especially separated from its form.
yeah. And the thing with the progressive thing, though, it has become politicized, really, with the whole abortion argument, which is axiomatic now, I would say, to the left ever since Roe versus Wade, which unfortunately does bring religion into it.
Yeah, and that's also I'll have to look up the stats about because I don't want to misquote this. Like based on gender, but a big thing that's brought up as far as like abortion being more of like a conservative or a religious or gender sort of thing. I think a lot of people are actually surprised on the stats that like a lot of people that are against abortion are actually women. Um, so let's see. I'm trying to look at these data here.
Huh.
Wow, this is some good data. Political party ideology. But like to me, this isn't a political thing, which is like I'm sure there's politics involved with it, but I feel like the issue of abortion itself has nothing to do with politics. Um, yeah, so percent of adults who say abortion should be legal illegal by gender. Um, so it's approximately the same for women and men. It's hard for me to see these actual numbers here. Let's see the data. So, oh, no, it's a little bit more. legal. So women said that 60% of women said it should be legal in all most cases, and 38% of women said illegal in all most cases. That 38% is the same for women and men as far as illegal, and it's for the legal in all most cases. 60% of women said it should be legal in all most cases, and 61% of men said legal in all most cases. These stats aren't exactly adding up, but I kind of get that. But my point is, like, people would think it's the kind of thing that men are gonna be so, like, trying to control women and trying to, like, this is like a men versus women issue, and it's just like time and time again I just find that's not really the case. And when you look at the actual statistics and the actual numbers, it's like, well, actually this is an issue that women are trying to talk about as well, and I feel like they're all kind of shut up and, like, pushed under the rug to be like, yeah, women, express your rights, express your minds, but not you guys. Like, don't, like, y'all stay quiet and don't say anything. And that's kind of, it's weird. It makes me a little uncomfortable that all of these women are kind of being silenced and told that their views aren't, like, the correct views, and so they can't say anything about it.
Yeah, and that seems to me would be the, like, some of the, like, the radical feminism falls apart, because you have to you support women, but only if you support the certain dogma that goes along with, like, certain feminist things. And if you, like, say, go an anti-abortion, you aren't, like, for women, you aren't trying to move it, and that just seems to me, like, categorically to be kind of insane.
Yeah, and it really sucks because, like, a lot of people antagonize feminism, and I think I'm a feminist, and very feminist, and I think it's not a good idea as women to tell each other, or especially for men, to tell women what is and is not appropriate feminism and what is enough feminism, because we can all point at each other and say, well, you don't do this and you don't do that, and so you're not feminist, which doesn't make any sense. Like, if you support women and you support feminist actions, then you are a feminist. And so by, like, especially if a man tells a woman, hey, you can't have that opinion because that's not a feminist opinion, like, there's something odd about that. There's something that doesn't really sit right with me. And I can super disagree with something that a woman's saying, but they should have the right to say that, and they should be allowed to say that, and they should be allowed to not all have the same opinion, because all women do not have the same opinion. I think that's really important.
Right.
It's very important.
That's the point I'm trying to drive home, because that's why really I don't like when you say I support all women. When I turn the inverse for me, like, do I support all men? I'm like,
Yes.
no. What does that mean? I mean, like, it depends on what they do, what they're like, it's for the advancement of my whole, like, sex.
Yeah, I guess that is true. Like, maybe don't
thinking.
support everybody, but I just mean, like, if a man is going up on a platform and saying these are issues I face as a man, I'm not going to correct them.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. So when a woman goes up and says these are issues I face as a woman, I don't like it when women say, no, you can't say that, those are the wrong opinions. Or when especially when a man says, like, no, sorry, you can't have that view because that view is sexist or something. And it's like, yeah, have this discussion and everything, but why is something like abortion so what is the word? Like, you can't talk about it. You can't, if you're a feminist, you can only have this one very narrow view about it, and questioning it or bringing it up is, like, not allowed. Taboo is the word I was looking for.
Yeah. I would say it would be, like, something you have to proclaim almost if you're, like, for it. Like, what was it, during the Golden Globes, one of the women, not Golden, maybe it was the Emmys, I don't know, they all blurred together for me.
Oh, yeah, the woman that was like, I had an abortion.
Yeah, I only got this one. Oh, it's just crazy. But yeah, but let's see. Going back into the faith, and so we're more familiar with Catholicism, and for me, from what I see in the Catholic faith, it's kind of dwindling the numbers, at least in the seminary field, because at least in our church, our priests are actually having to go and like do another church and pretty much preach there, and do the mass and everything and then come back here because they don't have enough right now. So they're basically doing two, which seems pretty crazy to me.
Oh yeah, there's
Yeah.
not enough people doing it.
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, and I guess that's just because like it's hard for people like if the amount of people who are taking religion less seriously is increasing, then the amount of people that are going to take that profession seriously is also decreasing. And so it's hard if you're a man to decide that that's going to be it, like it's really really hard to become a priest already, and so on top of that to have all this kind of thing where you're like, am I even going to be respected if I do that? Like I can't see how people go through with it. I feel like that'd be so hard to do.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I don't know what the thing is with nuns, but I know for a fact that it's hard for at least a young priest to get in there. Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah,
it's a
because
little bit. Yeah.
sorry, keep going.
No, that was pretty much it. You go ahead.
What I was gonna say is like, for example, like being a nun, you could previously at least guarantee, even if it's, even if you're gonna be poor for the rest of your life, what it doesn't matter, you're a nun. You don't really have to support your family because you're not gonna be having kids or whatever. But at least you could rely on at least society is supposed to help you, or at least like you can have a place in society, you have a role in society. And I think right now even society is telling priests and nuns like, no, we actually aren't going to accept you and we're not going to listen to you. And I think that that's really really hard to, it adds another layer of difficulty in trying to make that decision of that vocation.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting too. Because really, a lot of people, even in the Catholic field, struggle for the whole principles behind the faith. I think we were talking about this, but it's just kind of like lost knowledge that already exists, but people like don't look for it anymore. And it's kind of sad because there's like a lot of stuff that explains all these criticisms people have with it today, but they just they don't look further into it. I feel like there's just information there, and like the amount of the debate right now we're having on it is just like so stupid. I feel like that it's not even scratching the surface of what would be the real issues and whatnot. Yeah, most of the main thing are the Crusades, the time the church was tied with the government, which had some like has some basis for questionism or skepticism. Remember that Malcolm Muggeridge guy, like talking about, had a really hard time accepting the Anglican or Catholic faith just because he saw how much the Anglican Church is tied to the English government, and that kind of threw him off. But I mean, that's just like not the debate we're having right now. It's just very stupid, like questions about like yeah, like what about Peter Man or whatnot, or someone reading a story in
Yeah, it's
the
because it's
Testament
too
and thinking,
complicated.
yeah,
And people don't want to, like, I get it, complicated things are hard. Like sometimes I don't want to read about what a politician does, and I'm just like, no, just point out the bad guys, just circle them with a big red marker so I can know who to vote for. Like sometimes I it's hard to like really dig into it, and I think it's, instead of actually wanting to answer the questions, people don't want to do that. They just want a bad guy and they want like very simple like things to get mad at and to blame and to antagonize, which there are some simple things such as like diseases. That's simple, you can get mad at that. But something like, I don't know, like so many people always like bring up the witch burning thing with religion. They'll be like, yeah, religion is bad because they burn witches, as if that's like a thing that they're going to have to deal with day to day. Um, like they're like, this is a problem for me. Which like there are literally Christian people and Muslim people in this world that are being killed and tortured and in horrible, horrible ways, and genocides all over the world. But like, why do we bring up the witch burning thing? Like, why? Or people also like bring up there's a show Handmaid's Tale that came out, which like I think is actually a pretty good show. Like I can't watch it. I like kind of watch it, but I like can't really watch it because of the violence and stuff. But like I have some friends that really like it, and that's always brought up. People always bring that up. Is like, this is religion. This is what religion is. It's just this like cartoony villain of
Yeah,
like a problem they're gonna have to face. Um, and it touches on issues and it touches on problems that religion can have, but it's just kind of blowing them out of proportion and making them into like a cartoon villain. And I think that's
yeah,
easier for people to digest. They're like, oh, people who murder and burn people at the stake are evil. And instead of actually realizing that that's happening in real life, what about I just like pretend like it's happening? And then it's easy to imagine I'm in a cartoon or I'm in a movie and I'm the good guy and they're the bad guy. And it's just like easier to process.
yeah, definitely. I think every modern culture has their antagonists that come up today. That would definitely be religion and anything colonial, like any state that used to conquer others, like the British Empire, the US of course too. I think it's a modern phenomena to hate the US right now while being in it, which seems kind of funny to me, but interesting at the same time. um
Well, it's our right as Americans to hate our own country. It's part of it.
yeah, well, I mean, that's a good part. At least you can hate it.
Yeah, I have to like say something inflammatory about the United States every morning when I wake up after I say the Pledge of Allegiance because it's my right as an American citizen to to spark controversy.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think
and it's
giant
like
portrait
it's
of Ronald
old.
Reagan on it's a good thing.
It's like there are evil things the United States does, but when you just be like USA bad or like it's so like what are you just done now? Like is that as far as you're gonna go? Like the issues that we have here. Because it goes a lot deeper than that. Also, you can go try living in another country for a little bit. I promise you, it's really bad. Like things here are bad, but things other places are really, 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 really bad. And it kind of puts things in perspective.
Yeah, good point, good point. Let's see, let's talk about you. Have
Oh,
you
oh no.
yeah, get the what when we first talked about the faith with you, you were skeptical and you're like, yeah, I kind of get it, but I'm not there yet. Would you say this is your same mindset now?
Yeah, I like I it's really hard for me just not um I'm just a naturally very argumentative person and someone that questions everything for like no reason, like one of those annoying like devil's advocate people. Um
Yeah, I know what you mean. Me too.
yeah, like unfortunately
Empathy.
that's just like who I am and I'm always trying to figure out like what's going on. And so it's really hard for me to look at this system like Christianity and to not have all these like nitpicky issues and details and questions. And a part of it is also like being so separated from the church and not really having many people I could talk to this about. And with the quarantine, not being able to go into the church and be in these groups with people that have already kind of discussed this and figured things out and having to do a lot of the research on my own and with your help as well, like my friends giving me resources, but it's made it so that the questions are just keep building up and I'm still pretty confident. I'd say like I'm 100% confident that God is real. I'm 100% confident that Jesus is real, that uh, he came down and died and resurrected. Like these are all like some of these things I'm very aware of. It's more of these like questions like what is moral, what isn't moral, what is God a good guy? Is like should I trust God? Should I trust um, God's intentions? Like these sort of questions that are difficult to find answers to and are difficult to approach. And I think there are answers. It's just I don't know them. It's so far away from my understanding. And that's kind of why I need help to like talk to people. Because if I talk to my friends, they'll be like, "What are you talking about?" Like what? Like
Yeah,
no. Like um. So I'd say like I think I'm on the right path. It's just it is I think I'm hoping I can get to that point where I can be um, very comfortable in faith, but right now I'm at the point where I'm like one of those scared dogs that you get from a shelter and they're like afraid of fireworks and stuff. And God's just trying to hand me a hamburger on a plate and I think it's like dangerous and I'm like cowering away and like with my tail. Like that's what's going
Sad
on.
metaphor.
I've got like mange. Yeah, I got like a nervous tick and something like.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I feel like you gotta. There's like a bit of your catechism you have to work on. I'm blessed right now with a family who knows like all about it and they have all the answers. But yeah, part of it is going into a church. For me though, I've had some bad moments recently where I've kind of. It's not that I don't question the belief, but like what I think like the path has to do, I just like don't want to do it. So rather than what I say what I say and what I do are different, and there's a dissonance, and I believe that's not giving me the contentment for the faith, and then the contentment for life, which is needed because in the Catholic faith it's preached, that all this through God you will find the contentment. It's like that little missing thing that you're always trying to reach out towards, and everything becomes seen kind of at that point. Not everything, like just inner peace, I guess.
But do you think you
I don't
know like the
know.
right way to do that?
Yeah.
I also
I
I have to
think
be
that.
honest. I don't know what catechism means. I thought like I thought you were saying like catacombs.
Oh no, no. Let me
Yeah.
look
Sorry.
up
What is
for
catechism?
that too, because catechism means that anyone's like knowledge of the faith. So like you use in context, someone being taught their catechism is like someone being taught the moral principles. Or
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
There's also that big book. This is bad. I forgot it, but there's that the Catholic has that just giant textbook that just explains everything, with not
Oh, I
the Bible,
should
but
read
it's
that.
another one.
I can look it up. I probably could have just looked up that definition. Honestly, sorry, I like derailed everything. Catechism of the Catholic Church. Is that not what it's called?
Yeah, I think it is called the
That
Yeah,
was by Pope John Paul II.
yeah, and then there's a summary of the principles of the Christian religion in the form of questions and answers. But it can be used. It's used
Mm.
back in the old like 1800s as someone's knowledge of it, which they were usually taught as kids because that was just the norm back then. Here's another important question. Let's see. I was talking to someone close to me who was Catholic, and they believed in a resurgence of a theocratic state because they thought it will be better
I
than what
mean,
it is now, than the decadence, I guess. And I kind of railed against that because it's taking away a person's will to try to find it rather than being imposed.
yeah, I wasn't laughing at them. I was laughing at like how much I want to talk to this person. I'm like imagining someone like I don't know. I have this like image in my mind of like what type of person because you just like don't hear that often. So it's kind of funny
You
for someone to be
know?
like, yeah, we should go like we should have Sharia law or whatever. Um, yeah, I very clearly disagree with that. For the same reason you do. I think that politics has nothing to do with religion at all, and that's a human individual community or like your relationship with God is very personal and very um it's not something that like you can have somebody tell you exactly how to do. Like a religious leader can tell you the steps that you can take to be able to get there, but overall that's between you and God. And I would feel really weird if like it was tied into the same people that decide how much taxes I'm paying and what kind of like roads we're going to build and if you're allowed to plant flowers on your yard or whatever. Like I just don't feel like that's the same thing. It's very different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I get that too. Do
Yeah,
you
I mean,
think?
I just don't know enough about it though. Like that's why I'd be curious to talk to your friend because like I just am very clearly from one side, but I feel like I don't even know what possible arguments we could have from the other side because I've just never met anyone that had that opinion really.
Mm-hmm.
Without imagining actual Sharia law. Like that's the only frame of reference I have for how this works, and it clearly is not really working. Um,
That's the Muslim law, right? Which pretty much just
yeah,
dictates. Okay, so that's what Iran has, right?
yeah, it's just very like people are gonna corrupt anything to make it fit their narrative.
Right, right, right.
So you could read the Bible and interpret it however you want and make whatever law that you decide that you want to have. So I feel like that's not really the job.
That
Uh,
actually occurs in the Bible
oh
of the
yeah,
devil. Yeah,
they
it's the
talk
same through
about
the
this.
devil in the scripture. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I don't know about that. I'm dubious. I'm gonna go with a no. My vote is a no. But I still would be, curious to like hear their opinions about it. I just don't think I would ever want that. It's
Yeah.
just weird. Yeah.
Have you?
It's
So you
very
never really
religion's
met?
very like personal to me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. I've never really heard it like phrases that kind of makes sense. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you think that society right now is worse with a lack of religion, or do you think with it will be the same?
I don't think it's the lack of religion that's making that is our problem. I think that if we had more of it, society would be better. But I feel like people will misconstrue what I'm saying to be like, we should go back to the 1950s when everything was all fine and dandy and we had, segregation and stuff. Like, that's clearly not what I'm saying. And I think a lot of people that like want religion to come back into society, like sometimes it's hard to tell whether they're like just want to regress back to this time period when like things were not better and we didn't have less issues. Things are actually just as bad. I wasn't there, but I've been alive at least the 25 years I've been alive. I haven't seen things getting better or worse. So I think there's definitely a way to progress and to move forward while also incorporating religion into our lives. Um, I think I like totally didn't answer your question. I'm so sorry. But I guess like
Are you saying it doesn't really have an effect?
I'm saying that I don't think it's going to solve our problems. I think it's going to make things better. Like I think religion can help people and make them feel happier, but if somebody's unhappy, if a culture and a society is broken, there's so much more going on that is beyond um just everybody adopt religious practices. Like everyone would have to not only adopt religious practices, but also be really strong in their faith and also really study religion and see what it has to say about certain aspects of their life. And I that could really help them. But at the same time, like there's so much more that needs to be addressed. And I think it's a lot more complicated than just if everybody has Jesus, then all of a sudden everybody's going to be okay. Um,
Well, yeah, I think the main problem with that would be that someone has to have the will to go into it and constantly live that life, even if it's like given to them. With the majority, I think when the majority was Christian, most of them didn't actually truly live out that faith, and it was just more of a communal thing. Like you said, then it kind of tends to corrupt, and you just see it being used as a whip
Yeah, because
for
as we've already seen, like over 70% of citizens in the United States, it like identify as being Christian. So clearly, since we all have issues, that's not exactly what what our like the solution. It would have to be more like living out these values. And I don't know the best way to do that. I don't know if just like forcing everybody to do that is the right thing to do. I don't know if teaching everybody about it, are they even going to listen? I don't know what the solution is. But
I
I'm
think Joe
skeptical.
Biden.
I'm skeptical. I don't know what I'm skeptical about. The whole thing.
Yeah, okay.
Um, yeah, like I just like we both went to Catholic school. Like I don't think there was at any point that stuff I learned in Catholic school I was like, wow, this has made me a better person. Um,
No, I think it failed for me because well, you weren't there in middle school, but we were taught
mhm.
things from the Bible to be literal, and we just memorized the facts about it. Especially in Old Testament, that didn't do anything for me. We didn't really understand the metaphor running, why these things were kept. Why did this lady turn into a giant pillar of salt? We just had to memorize to
Yeah,
keep
it's
it,
just that they happen.
and that just really kind of warped me. And later on in high school, all my classmates, none of them were like Catholic, and
Yeah.
most of our teachers weren't either. They were either, well, we had a Protestant principal, and then most of the teachers were either agnostic or they didn't say. But yeah, which I thought was
Yeah, and then a lot of the people will like be like, yeah, I'm Christian anyway, and then will like go on being like racist and stealing and lying and cheating and doing all this, and then being like, yeah, but I'm Christian, so it's Gucci. Don't worry about it. Like that's what I feel like the mentality is right now. So like I think I just misinterpreted your question maybe, but like just to hear like, do you think if we had religion again like we used to, things would be better? Well, we never really had it. Um, so no, like things are just the same as it ever was. Like nothing has changed.
huh. That seems almost a little bit nihilistic, though. Do you think? Do you think you'd be able to gauge whether or not that society was crumbling? Let's say you were in Soviet Russia
No,
during.
I'd probably be like everything's
You'd be
fine.
like, yeah, yeah, okay. I think I would be the same too.
I said
It's just
the
annoying right now, but it's the way it always.
Yes, it's all the same. Everything's the same. I mean, like I think it could be viewed as like a negative nihilistic sort of thing, but it could also be like I tend to think of myself as a fairly positive person and more just like not being afraid of being like, oh well, if more or less people become Christian, or if we regress back to whatever point that we've arbitrarily decided is like the good times, like it's all good. It's all going to be good. Like if you're good in your heart and your family's good and you feel good, and then
Yeah,
it's good. Like is my view. Like even if like the whole world is burning down around me, if I'm good, I'm good. So I don't know. Like I
yeah,
have modern medicine, I have air conditioning, I have a microwave, which is really lit because I never had a microwave until like very recently.
my
Game
God.
changing. Um, so things are great. Like I love progress. um, if we could incorporate more Jesus into that progress, I think it would be great. But I don't think that we could go back to a time when more people were religious. We could just go back to a time when more people like would self-flagellate maybe, or maybe back to a time where more people like literally thought they were going to go to hell if they like ate too much good food or something. But like I don't know if there was ever a time in history except for like prehistoric times when people or animals were like literally Christian. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Like even in the Bible, like with like well, okay, clearly people wouldn't have been Christian back then because like that wouldn't make any
Well, they
sense.
were they were, I guess, technically Jewish at
Yeah, they're
that point.
technically Jewish, but like even I'm trying to think of when was like peak Christianity in the United States. Like
That will probably be, I mean, during, well, no, I guess Christianity, I guess when it started, because mainly most of them were Puritans, starting it.
yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, if we pretend like we're not talking about Native American people right now. Um
Yeah,
yeah. Well, except for that Jesus had came to United States um to that guy, the Mormon guy, John probably.
yeah, God, I forgot his name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that guy.
I have to look him.
But like, I really don't think things are better back then. I really don't.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe it was
All right,
great. I wasn't around.
all right, let's go to video games real quick. What's your favorite
No.
video game?
Okay, so probably Super Mario 64, Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, or Monkey Ball, or Mario Kart Double Dash.
Oh man, I love Mario Kart Double Dash. That
Yeah,
was.
like that's not really like an advanced game, but it is a very fun game.
I've heard a lot about Majora's Mask. That game's weird, right? There's a giant moon, right? Like every day, and
Yeah,
it
it's
gets.
spooky, and you only have 3 days, but you can go back in time.
Yeah, but you don't have any of your items though, right?
I think you keep some of them. I haven't played it in a very long time, but I'm pretty sure you keep some of your items.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't remember.
And it's interesting you bring that up because the new RetroPie has a 64 emulator on it, so you can just download all of them, play them on a flat screen.
I downloaded Ocarina of Time very recently,
Do you have a
but
controller?
yes.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Yeah,
then it
yeah. No,
long.
I was just clicking. It was fun. It was
Okay.
good. I know you keep your mask when you go back in time, but I can't remember whether you keep like your stuff. And I actually don't even remember like how. I don't think you're going back in time super frequently, but you also go back in time in Ocarina of Time since that's the Ocarina of Time. So maybe I'm getting it all confused.
No, no, no. I think you definitely go back in time with the Majora's Mask. That's like the
Yeah, no,
whole
you
thing.
definitely do. You have to like reset the day counter. Um, but I don't remember whether this was like a. I know in Ocarina of Time it doesn't really happen like that much. It might happen more like I know it happens more frequently, but I don't remember exactly how much in Majora's
Okay.
Mask.
Okay.
But I
Cool.
don't
Cool.
remember like going back in time and being particularly upset about losing my items. So I feel like
Okay.
it probably can keep them. Or I just like had much more chill back then and was like accepting of my fate. Um, but I love that game. I love Super Monkey Ball because it like is what I imagine like heaven would be like. Um, there's like just fruits and endless space and like beauty. And yeah, I don't know. I think those are my favorite games. I'm trying to think if I like I'll probably remember one that I forgot
You
a
ever
long
played
time ago.
Zelda on the Super Nintendo? Link.
Like the old one.
Yeah, it's 2D.
Yeah, it's boring. I don't like it.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah, I'm not a big like random encounter, randomly generated map person. My brother is like super into the old Zelda games, but I could never play them for more than like 10 minutes without getting like really, really, really bored. So I was never able to complete those.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
I also love Wind Waker.
Oh
Wind
yeah.
Waker is super duper fun. Um, I love DDR. I'm actually pretty good at DDR.
What's DDR?
Dance Dance Revolution.
Oh.
Yeah, like I love DDR. I was like obsessed with it in sixth, seventh grade, something like that. So I would play like literally every day for like hours a day. And the exchange student Kyoko, who I've talked about, who were staying with us, we would like compete with each other and to see like who could get the most expert score on all the expert levels. And so we just play the expert levels until one of us made a misstep, and then they would have to like cook dinner for the other one. So we were like hardcore about DDR. And you never really forget it. Like it'll come back to you like driving. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Interesting. Well, I'm probably gonna cut that part out and replace it with Ninja Gaiden.
With what?
With Ninja Gaiden. So every time you say DDR, it says Ninja Gaiden.
I don't know what that is.
I know, but it's a cool game, so you get a little more rep on it.
Oh. Well, no, we gotta talk about DDR. Recently, I went to like this is like I'm gonna show off. This is my show off moment, but it's a really stupid story. But I went to DreamHack, which is like a convention, a video game convention with one of my friends, and there was like a DDR thing there, and this person had like no idea that I had played that game. And so I just like went up, and there was like these like competitive people, and we started playing, and of course they like kicked my ass at it, but at the same time they were like, oh wow, like you're actually really good at this. And my friend the whole time was just like, is this real? Is this really happening? And I was like, yeah, I just don't really talk about it. Like I don't really play it, but it is something that I'm like bizarrely obsessed with. So that's my DDR story. It's so stupid because you never are in a situation where people have DDR. Like you can't like go over to people's houses. They usually don't have it. Like I don't own a mat, but
Yeah,
I love
that's
rhythm
a
games
skill
so
you can't
much.
really, have it show up. I'm pretty sure DDR is also a term in movie making when you dub audio in. So it sounds so confusing every time.
Oh, I'm really into like dubbing audio.
Yeah, definitely.
My passion. No, my passion is moving to rhythms.
Mm,
I'm really into that.
oh, okay, like voodoo kind of stuff.
Yeah. But instead of voodoo, it's like dancing. No, I would never even like go in a voodoo area ever. I don't like anything like that. We're
I
gonna
I
have
read
a theocracy, but it's gonna be voodoo themed.
I read this
uh,
business article like of this guy who went to Africa and he was an ethnobiologist, so psychoactive plants, and he would have these people who were basically slaves to these like farm owners, and they would basically turn them into it by giving them this combination of like this plant that had scopolamine in it, which
oh
basically makes you
yeah.
sedated and it takes you like able to be like suggested to do anything. So they basically were whatever you tell them to do, they would do it. They had like all these drug guys like farming for them.
Yeah, I
on-
remember hearing about that, but I didn't know like how much of that
And
was.
it was a tested article, yeah. And apparently they would give them like puffer fish, and which would give them like the appearance of being dead, but they'd still be alive and have a heartbeat. And like after everyone left, they would dig them out of their grave and then I guess give them this drug and make
But like the idea of like giving people drugs to like make them your slaves is like pretty standard. So I'd say I believe it.
okay.
This is like a theatrical version, but
Yeah.
like the puffer fish, I don't know about that. But why not? I mean, it doesn't really like make them any more or less evil. So sure.
Okay. Well,
Wait,
that's
what's
all.
that got to do with DDR? How do we get here?
Oh, well, it's kind of like you're in a zombie state, and you're kind of like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
kind
They give
of
me
retarded.
like a big dose of like bath salts before I get on the mat, and that's how I win every DDR competition that
Yeah,
I've ever been in.
we
I
got your
eat the
secret.
face of the competition. Can't defeat me if you can't see. Um, no, I would never do that.
Okay, yeah. I think I was implied, but yeah, good to know.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think we covered everything I wanted to talk about. Well, thank you for
Okay.
that. Hey,
Hopefully, I didn't like embarrass myself too much, but we'll see.
no, 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 it was good. Interesting conversation.